What's up? What's up, mi gente? We are back with another Teal Grit podcast. I got on the line the homie Nelson, one of the dopest directors I know out there doing it. Let's get it in. What's happening, pana?
¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué pasó?
¿Qué es lo que hay?
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, ¿y tú?
Bien, bien, bro. Just enjoying this creative freedom time.
Is it creative, huh?
Yeah.
So what are you doing now that we can't really get out and do what we love to do?
Honestly, I'm trying to reinvent myself. There's no. I'm like always like on the move,
Yeah,
and right now, since we can't really leave because that responsibility.
yeah,
I'm just like, okay, well, I have time to write now. I have time to edit some things that I haven't done, but then at the same time, like projecting myself for a couple of years and then see how I could make a plan for myself.
yeah, man. That's dope because I always see you working and putting out visuals. So and I admire all the stuff that you've been putting out. Para darle a little bit of context, how we know each other. Do you want to tell me kind of the story? How we even
Yeah,
met?
I think we could go. We could do like a dual story, but for sure, yeah. No, back
Yeah,
in what was it like? I don't even know the date. Like 2006, maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, I was doing some like club promotions with my homie Santos, and then I don't even remember where we met, bro, honestly, but I remember I met you and I was like, oh shit, let's just like, I just felt like the dope energy from you and the team that was around you, Mo'Skillz,
yeah,
that at the time with your cousin and Ill.
yeah,
And I was like, damn, these guys are like on the same wave as me, but doing their music shit. And
yeah,
then at the time I was studying like business. And then I was like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but then I was like, dude, like you DJ, what if we do this? We throw events and then like put
yeah,
you on the roster and then find other DJs. I don't know. We're just kids,
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
make shit happen, but we're just hustlers.
Uh huh.
And
Exactly.
then that's how we met. We just kind of aligned visions.
Yeah. So for a lot of people that don't know, Nelson was a huge part of getting like a lot of the team to think more bigger scale. Like doing big events and just doing bigger things. In general, I think you definitely helped kind of bring that alive. And
For
that's
sure.
that's that's the dope thing about having a lot of creative people in one group, right? Is that everybody has something good to put in, and I think you get like the best out of what you could get out of each person. If everybody kind of pushes each other.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I definitely like learned over the years that collaboration is key.
Hmm.
And I think finding the right people to collaborate with is important. But that happens with trial and error, and then what to collaborate in. But I think over the years I've learned a lot. But for sure, man, like I think you're my first like business partner.
Right? Even if we weren't in a legal
In
bind
a like
situation.
legit
Yeah.
business. But like we're basically just making moves, like
Man, it was
doing
such
hella shit.
yeah, it was such a good time. Just I always talk about friends about this that I'm glad that we were able to experience what we did, that we were able to
Mhm.
create events and then get paid for it and in a way to, enjoy ourselves, like party a bit and
Yeah,
know a bit about the business aspect of running kind of like a entertainment company and then obviously, we didn't know everything, but we were like learning like by failing and doing things, and I
for
think I
sure.
think that was hella dope. And I mean, the countless times that I was able to, go to your place and we were able to crash there and just brainstorm or whatever. It'll be like a little hub right there at your spot.
I know, yeah, for sure. We like without realizing it, yeah, we had like a little office at your spot too.
Yeah, anywhere we
It's just
went,
so
really.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, oh, let's just talk about. But then at the end of the day, we were just kind of having fun. That's the cool part about it. And then luckily, nothing ever happened too serious.
No, yeah, I mean, I think we all left at a pretty good standing point,
Yeah.
But I also want to get into after we all kind of parted ways. ¿Qué pasó después? I know that you were interested in film, and you
hmm
actually shot one of my music videos. Remember the
hmm
live in the flesh?
Oh yeah.
how,
Shit. You're right.
how did that even come about? Like where did that idea of like I want to do film or music videos come about?
You're right, dude. I completely forgot about that.
I mean,
My
it's
homie
not as
yesterday
big.
was doing an interview. No,
Yeah,
it's all good, but he asked me like, "Yo, what's the first music video?" And I was like, "Oh, I think I did one for Canserbero, but I didn't remember we did one together."
I know
That's so funny.
you shouldn't remember because it probably wasn't the biggest video, anyways.
They're like, "Show me." I'm like, I don't know what that shit is, bro. That's just kind of cool. I saw it
Yeah.
like a couple years ago, and it has cool shots. Um, I don't know. I think I had like a frustration with school. I was trying to graduate as fast as possible, but I
Hmm.
just hated school. Hate like school's not for everybody.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
my family's hella strict with that shit, and it's like, yo, you gotta go to school,
Oh
And I'm like,
yeah,
all right, I'm not
I
gonna be the first
I know
kid to
you.
not make it.
I know your mom. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, my mom's like, no, you gotta go to school, you move out, bro. And I'm like, I don't know, want to pay rent right now.
Yeah.
So I was like going to the answer and shit, but wasn't really trying. So I kind of saw time slipping.
Hmm.
So then at some point I just started taking it serious, and then I had this great counselor, and then she was like, "Hey, you should take your GE in segments that you could test, careers that you could test, because clearly you don't like studying business at least."
Yeah.
So then I did some creative stuff, and then eventually I landed in like music production, something around music,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, "Damn, this is cool." So that's when I started like rapping, and then I remember, I
Mm.
don't know if you remember that time I was doing like some freestyles with my homie Lyrico, and then we were doing
Criollo,
like some
right?
beats. Yeah, criollo, and then
Yeah.
eventually I created Elemento,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Elemento.
then
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you got some of those old tracks
I
somewhere.
probably do.
And then I realized like, oh, maybe I could study and do a creative, like career at the same time. So at some point, during the second semester, she's like, "Oh, you should go take an elective in film." And then I met Zaki Lisha, who was the like he was the dean of film in the Anza, and then he was like, he went to school with George Lucas, so he was from a generation of like dope
Oh
filmmakers,
yeah,
So
that's dope.
he just kind of saw my hunger, and he's like, oh, like he would always call me out and always give me tools. And then I started getting straight A's, bro, for the first time, and I was like, okay,
That's dope.
I guess I'm good at this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Uh-huh.
so then I just bought a little camera, and then I also always been like kind of self-taught. So I used what I grabbed in school, which is
Hmm.
like film history,
Yeah.
and then what I was learning in tutorials and shit like that. And then I started kind of like doing my own thing, like filming little things. And then we filmed your video,
Yeah.
and then I filmed a couple other things with a little camera. I bought like a little. I always believe in like investing, So I bought a little camera. I used it, and
What was it? What
then
was that camera? Just curiosity.
fuck, man, honestly I can't remember, but it was like a handheld.
Hmm.
Sorry, it was like a
Was it
what are those things
was
called?
it like a camcorder?
It was a camcorder, but it was HD. It was one of the first affordable HD camcorders. So it was like it was plugging like 1080 at it, you
Huh.
know.
Interesting.
But it was like the design of like a tape camcorder.
Oh, okay.
It was like right before the DSLRs.
Oh, I see.
So the DSLRs didn't come out yet, so I didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they were around, but the 5D was just too expensive.
Yeah.
And then what happened? I can't remember. I actually remember a funny thing. Lil Jon
Mm-hmm.
one time was like, he was saying something about camera, dude, and then he said something that clicked on me. It's like, I know somebody that does like video recording for like the Warriors or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, I guess that's like a good fallback. If I don't make it, like I'll just be
Mm.
I'll be
Yeah.
recording fucking games of the Warriors, some
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I could get like a uni or something. So that's kind of like that time everything clicked. You know, everything just kind of like pointed that this was what I needed to do, and I
Mm,
just fell in love with it. You know.
yeah. Yeah, that's crazy that it's funny how everything happens, right? Like of course we're all trying to find like what we want to do in life, and it's hard to sometimes, to figure it out. And like you said, like you started getting good grades, and like it started really to come together, and it took off. Like, well, I think the first time that I seen that you were creating some really dope content was I think you were in Venezuela, no? And I think
Yeah,
you put out like
yeah. Before
you put out some
I think.
stuff, right, for like a festival, Latin hip hop festival, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Damn, you were paying attention, bro.
Oh yeah,
That was.
bro, that was some dope stuff. I actually became a fan of Supa and all these other artists when you put them out. I was like, who the hell are these dope ass
Oh
artists? You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah. It's funny because like
How did that
I
happen?
never talked I never talked about this perspective on this side. Everybody's always asking me like, "Yo, how did you even like, you're from Venezuela. How the fuck do you connect with all these major people, you know?"
Oh yeah.
And then I'm always like, "Oh, I used to live outside and I just went back and I did all these videos." But then like I never talked from this side where
Mm,
like somebody really knows me, and
yeah.
my grind because like by the time I was making videos, we already tried making shirts. We already tried doing events. We already tried,
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
like we're like almost like seasoned creators.
Yeah. Exactly.
So when I started doing videos, I worked after I graduated from the answer or something. I worked like a summer job, and I just saved for a 7D.
Uh-huh.
And then I started following Yak Films, and then shout out to like Javi from Richmond. He used to work with Yak Films, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, we bought some 7Ds and stuff." So he kind of like gave me a bunch of ideas, how to do stuff. And honestly, I like studied their films, and
Mhm.
I made some dance films here.
Mm,
Those are somewhere on YouTube, and they're kind of cool actually.
yeah.
Um, so that was kind of like my school. It was kind of like, okay, let's try this, let's try that, and then the guys were young. The surfers were like super young, so they're
Mhm.
willing to test things.
Yeah.
And then I saw that Yak Films was filming events. They were just basically documenting the growth of the dance community. So
Mm.
there's this pattern that happens in culture, where everything that happens at least from what I understand, like here in the States, it
Mhm.
kind of multiplies through Latin America years after. So I understood that when I went there, and I was like, okay, I heard Canserbero, who's
Oh
the
yeah.
artist that I ended up working with, but
Mhm.
when I heard him first, I was like, okay, he's gonna be the future of hip hop in Venezuela, and he didn't have any videos. So that was
Mm.
my reasoning for going there, because I have some homies, and then I was
Mhm.
like, okay, maybe I'll find him. But then one thing led to the next, and then I was like in the first hip hop festival from Venezuela with the only DSLR. So I was like, fuck this,
Ah,
I'm gonna
interesting.
record everything. I was like
Yeah.
hungry too.
Yeah. Wow,
So then the next day I put all that out.
I'm surprised that you were the only guy with the camera. You know what I mean?
Nah, dude, there was hella cameras,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. Everything takes a little longer. But they were like those like tape big cameras. They're like production cameras, but they
Mm-hmm.
were still working on tape.
Mm.
And
Okay.
then the quality of a DS like a 7D versus a tape camera at that time was like gold.
I see. Wow.
So I recorded I had a press pass, but I didn't have a stage pass. But
Uh,
I was a super hungry kid, and then I
yeah.
was like climbing on the thing, holding it with one hand.
Yeah.
And then I filmed like all the artists, because you know me, I was like pumping Guerrilla Seca,
Oh
all those
yeah.
artists for
Mm-hmm.
years.
Yeah. You're the ones that got
And
got us into that, Guerrilla Seca.
yeah, that's what I was telling my homies. I was like in California, I was putting Venezuelan hip hop everywhere.
Hell yeah.
And then yeah, dude. And then for the first time I saw him live. So for me it was like it was everything. So I was like excited. I put it out, and then the next day, all those guys, Guerrilla Seca, Supa, they're all like, "Yo, who are you? Where you come from? Like, let's work." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit!"
Oh,
I was
that's
super
dope.
overwhelmed.
Hell yeah, that's
Yeah,
dope.
but I
Nah,
stuck with Khan though.
I could
That was my
I could see that should have felt really good at that moment, because you're from Venezuela, going back to your motherland, and kind of getting that, kind of that, I don't know if I should say validation or anything, but just feeling that love from your own country, you know? It's like, oh hell yeah, and I love hip hop. Like this is what I was meant to
Yeah,
do. You know what I mean?
it was it was like definitely reassuring, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a dope ass feeling. So then you hooked up with Supa and then Canserbero, right? And all
Well,
these
so
other.
Supa, I met him. I actually didn't even meet him that event. He raps to the dude that I know. His
Mm-hmm.
name is Rai One, who's like a graffiti founder.
Yeah.
Um, I just say what's up to him honestly, and then I liked Supa at that time, but I like Khan was like on a different wave, you know, not necessarily a better wave, but he was doing like an album, you know, so he was
Mm-hmm.
working with this other dude named Kapu, who's a producer,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought their work was like impeccable, you know. For me, it was like to this day, it's the best hip hop album in Spanish ever made, you know. So
Mm.
I was like, oh, this guy doesn't even have a YouTube channel, you know. I want to be part of that, you know. So
Yeah.
basically, we linked, and I was like, let's film, you know, with whatever we can because we didn't have any money. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, let's film the events, let's film the tour. Honestly, I my goal was to make a documentary about him, but
Mm-hmm.
in the process, we made music videos, and you know, we became friends. So sometimes you just enjoy the company more than like you film. You know, that's one lesson that I learned from that. Like, if you're there to do that, just make sure you do it.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah, and
That's
those took
dope.
off. Like I never thought that shit was gonna be so big.
No, it's hella dope. What was I gonna say? So who's you also work with the dojo, right? Or is that like who is el
Yeah,
dojo
the dojo.
anyways?
Yeah, so after I worked with Khan, I worked with Suba. I did
Mm-hmm.
like 7 videos for his album, his first album technically, because he did a bunch of mixtapes.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Suba, I took advantage of basically the birth of another project
Mm-hmm.
because with Khan, I was able to create like an image for him, and then with Suba, we recreated an image. He basically gave me the responsibility to do more than videos, to basically create like a brand, you know.
Yeah.
So we applied some of the things that we had in one video, and we basically used that character in the short film, and then made the same character for another short film with a different clothes, but it's the same personality, you know. So
That's
it
yeah.
wasn't only like rapping, you know.
That was dope. What were the names just for people that are probably wondering?
What one is called? I was about to answer the dojo thing, but yeah, one is called like the my favorite one is called Luz, Luz. The another one's called Hambre,
Mm.
Hambre. Wise guys,
Oh yeah, wise guys.
and there's a few more. 99,
Yeah, I remember that.
and then can't remember the other one,
Yeah, that's
but
crazy.
we did a few.
I didn't realize that that was like supposed to be like different characters, but I did notice in the Wise Guys video that it kind of gave that vibe that it was supposed to be kind of different person, you know?
Yeah, well, that's kind of where his like kind of like an alter ego was born, you know, like a grown up Suba,
Mm-hmm.
because he was like little Suba for the longest, you know, and then when we created the Lu Fresco character for Wise Guys and all these other characters,
Yeah.
um, without knowing, we're creating like the rebirth, you know, kind of like P Diddy, whatever, you know, or like you know how all these artists
Oh yeah.
graduate to their next like feel look, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
It's kind of fun though, right? If you think about it, to have different, you know, personas. I think it's fun to explore different avenues of who you can be and who you could evolve to. I mean, I think it's kind of cool that you guys did that, and anybody out there that's a creative, I think that's something you should try. You know, too. You know,
For
try
sure.
evolving and
I mean, you have a whole field of opportunities to do anything you want, you know.
yeah, exactly.
So it's fun to experiment, but at the same time, it's good to like channel.
And
And after Supa, we did those projects.
uh-huh.
Then he created a collective with I think it was like 6 other artists and 3 beat makers,
Mm-hmm.
and then they called it Yo Yo Dojo.
Mm.
And the easiest way to see it is like a Wu Tang from Latin America, you know,
Yeah,
something
that's definitely what I could see. I mean,
like that.
with
Yeah.
the influence of, you know, the what is it from like
boom
the
bap.
yeah, exactly that, and like all that kind of like kung fu type vibe, you know. I
Oh
I,
yeah, that's
I
it. Yeah,
definitely get that, and it's dope though, you know, because it is kind of like the Wu Tang of Latin America.
yeah, they
Um,
kill it, man.
what about who's old tape? I hear that a lot. That
Oh,
producer.
Old Tape is he's a producer. His name is Pedro. He's a producer from Caracas. He's
Mm,
one of the main producers in Dojo. Old Tape and Drama Team
yeah, man, those guys
are
are
the main ones.
crazy ass producers. Dope.
Yeah, they're like I'm betting everything on those guys, man. Right now, in the next project I'm doing, I'm gonna basically create some kind of partnership with them where they're gonna create all my sounds, you know. And through the years, I've been kind of like feeding them corporate projects and all these
Mm,
other avenues that as beat makers maybe they don't touch, but I really want to put them in like movie production, you know, and like
mm.
composing and things like that as far as like sound, you know.
No, that's dope, man. Every time I listen to anything from them, it's like, wow, this is.
Yeah,
It's kind of like
they're so talented.
bringing me back
Yeah,
in the era of you know, when everything was kind of starting, like beat sampling and just the vibe of like kind of sampling movies and stuff like that. You know what's crazy, bro? Because listening to Supa and all these artists that you kind of introduced me to, I was listening to a. I don't know why I always remember about this, but there's a song in was it Jega? I think
oh, Jiga, yeah,
he has an album called Rainmaker or something like that.
yeah, remake.
And there's a freaking song where they have a skit and it's part of a movie, but I didn't know at that time that it was part of a movie. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
I
it's
can't remember, but
it,
I know I have a feeling I know.
and it's crazy because I love the skit. Like every time I hear it, I think it's something to do with like a what is it, like a freaking someone that kills como se dice what do you call it? I don't know, just some guy that's trying to murder somebody, and
Right.
I saw this movie not too long ago on the TV, and I was like, holy shit, that's part that they actually translated this into Spanish and put it into that song. I was like,
Oh
oh
no
shit.
way,
I'm telling you,
no way.
I was like, what the fuck? This is dope. No, and it
That's
sounded
cool.
super similar to it and everything. I was like, oh wow, this is so
That's
dope.
really cool. It's cooler that it's like a translation. It's not the
Yeah,
original.
yeah, exactly. But it sounded so good, you know, because I just thought it was fascinating. Like, wow, this is so sick. But
That's dope.
and
Yeah, he's dope. He's a cool lyricist.
man, he's so dope. Also, también quería hablar and touch on the topic of Venezuela because I know a lot of people probably don't know what was happening
Yeah,
or is happening. You probably have a better perspective and qué pasó allí and like maybe something
yeah,
you want to tell us about what's going
yeah. I
on.
mean, honestly, it's really, really, really complicated. But I could speak with some kind of, I guess, like ground, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
we actually are completing a documentary about that, you know,
Mm,
about what's been happening. And
yeah.
I got lucky enough that the partners I was working with, we kind of we align ourselves with this great producer, and then you know he gave us the opportunity to do that. So it's basically right now Maduro inherited power from Chavez, and then he what they did is they centralized all the power, you know, and then so there's no executive. I mean, all the branches are basically controlled by the executive branch, which is Maduro, and
Mm-hmm.
then everybody underneath, all the powers that could challenge him are underneath the same party. You know, so
Mm,
that sounds like whatever. That sounds like it could happen here, but it is kind of happening here. You know,
mm-hmm.
so and then also what they did is they just centralized all the powers, every single power. You know, so that created the like the side, you know, like the division and the people. And then on top of that, they created the voting. They centralized the voting system, and then
Mm-hmm.
they controlled it. And then you know, so basically, what happened is like it's like a boxing match, you know. And then you're like, okay, I'm gonna train for 8 weeks, and then you train for 1 day, and then you're gonna eat only pizza, and I'm gonna eat steak, you know. And then
Mm-hmm.
basically, you give the opponent all the losing chances, you know, and that's what's happening there, you know. And
Damn.
then there's no way to take him out, so it basically became a dictatorship, you know.
Yeah,
And then
that's
on top
crazy.
of that, what's making it really bad is that um, over the years we relied on the oil
Uh-huh.
for investment, and the Chavez basically took away all the private industries and made it state industry
Mm-hmm.
and bankrupted them because as soon as the oil price went down, they were relying on the oil as money, So we don't make anything anymore. We import everything.
Mm.
So the infrastructure within the country is broken. So that's why there's no food and all these things. So the country is broken in every sector of society. The hospitals are broken. The streets are broken. There's no import.
Wow.
There's no making anything. There's only imports. And then on top of all that craziness, then there's like drug trafficking through there's like the military.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a cartel. So the guy that runs the military is the Cartel de los Soles,
Mm-hmm.
and then they traffic the cocaine. Basically, Venezuela is a port of cocaine through Colombia. So
Damn.
Colombia exports through Venezuela. So
Damn.
there's a lot of violence, on top
Yeah.
of that. So the country basically fractured.
Wow. And that's happening
Yeah.
still?
No, yeah. Right now it's the worst. Right now it's like really, really, really bad because over the years, like in 2014, there was a big protest, and then the students came to the street. A couple of students get killed. Some got imprisoned. Like the main opposition leader got imprisoned. And then 2017, after the first time the opposition won an election, Maduro's government's like that election doesn't count. So all
Mm-hmm.
the deputies that were the majority weren't allowed to do any political moves. So Venezuela didn't have an opposition voice.
Yeah.
So then this whole like movement with Guaido came out where he was one of those deputies that got elected and backed by other countries that are basically receiving like million or like hundreds of thousands of immigrants are like, yo, you need to fix your problem, dude. Like we can't keep taking all the Venezuelans that are leaving. So
Mm-hmm.
basically Guaido created like a bigger opposition movement, but he was elected by the people. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessary. It's not a coup how people think it is. So there is a conflict of interest in there, but it's just a separation of interest, and the country is divided. But the majority wants change.
Wow.
Like it's the biggest exodus in Latin America in the last 100 years, and it's the biggest exodus in the world currently
Mm-hmm.
without a war. Like we don't have a war, but we have the biggest numbers of people leaving. So it's pretty crazy.
What about your familia? Are they? Do you have family out there or?
Yeah, my dad, my sister, still there. A lot of aunts, a lot of cousins. Maybe like half of my family's there, half of my family's out, and I have a huge family.
They're not coming back or something like that?
um, it's kind of like how Mexico, a lot of people have been living for generations.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and then sometimes you're like, oh, I have an aunt over there, like my grandma stay. Like some
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to leave their land. They're just comfortable and not necessarily comfortable, but they're just like in love with their place. And the life of an immigrant is not easy. You gotta start
Yeah.
over and reinvent yourself, and you don't have a support system, etc.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have decided to just like wait it out. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
in that waiting, it's been, how long have I been here? Like 18 years.
Yeah.
So when we moved, things weren't that bad, but they were starting to like shift. So like
Damn.
Cuba has been in the same position for 60 years. So
Yeah.
who knows how long this thing could go.
That's crazy, man. I hope everything works out for that Venezuela, man, because it's people's lives at stake. It's not just
Yeah.
playing around
I
with.
mean, this thing has destroyed families. And everybody has suffered from this at some point. And then, it's funny how like liberals in the states have opinions about it, but they don't really understand. They don't care to investigate a little more and dig deeper. Because at the end of the day, I'm a liberal. I believe in socialism, basically equality of like education and health.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what's happening there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
in the eyes of the world, it sounds cool, but that's not what's really happening. And the world's turning a blind eye on it, especially the liberals. So it's pretty sad.
Well, yeah. I mean, even more if you're in that country, right? I mean, everybody could talk about anything that's happening around the world until it affects them, and then that's when they pay
Exactly.
attention. same thing with
Exactly.
same thing with the pandemic. They're like, yeah, it's it's happening in China or whatever, and now it's like all of a
Yeah,
sudden it's in our soil. Like, oh shit,
yeah,
this is real.
yeah. No, that shit until it hits your circle, man, it doesn't really like it's kind of like an alien to you. Yeah, talking about aliens.
I think I heard something like that at a comedy skit that someone was like, someone was getting offended by what the comedian was saying, and the comedian was like, well, if you don't like what I'm saying, then do something about it, you know, like don't
Mm-hmm.
just complain about it or tell me
Mm-hmm.
that not to say it. Like, do something about it then if you don't like it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of stuck to me. Like, yeah, I mean, people want to say a lot of things, but not until you take action, then that doesn't really matter, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
just an opinion or a comment or whatever.
for sure.
Like,
Action is definitely required to change this shit. I mean, so this pandemic is so interesting. Like
mm-hmm,
people in the states are always like, "Oh yeah, like we, the free, the best country in the world, and whatever." And at the end of the day, like we can't even contain this thing. You know what I mean? There's more than a million cases, and we thought we are so badass.
yeah,
But
Espe-
but the actions of the individuals are speaking in higher words. Because people are not being responsible about their actions.
yeah. I mean, especially right now, the government's like, oh yeah, we're gonna ease down the lockdown. You know, it's like, I don't think that's the right thing to do, but
Yeah,
you know,
definitely not the time for that.
it's
But
like,
it's affecting people's health, though. Like I mean, like wallet, basically.
hmm,
And mental health. I
yeah,
understand, but at the same time, like we should all be getting money from the government right now,
yeah,
and sitting our ass in the couch until this thing is kind of controlled, but the government is just like, okay, no, everybody's gonna be on lockdown, and we don't give a fuck how you eat. Like that's not the right decision,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like all my homies in Europe are like, yeah, this thing sucks, but the government's helping us out. So different.
What's going on in Europe? How are they helping them out?
Just those are countries with views are a little more like social in that sense, where even immigrants are getting some kind of money help or like rent help
Hmm.
or even like health. Like if you get sick over there, you know that you're gonna go to hospital, and it might be crazy,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna be denied. Like
Uh,
here, like some kids are like dying because they don't even have like health care.
that's true.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
already
backwards.
it's funny because I think I heard this somewhere, and I think it goes back to the issues that the United States has. You know, as which goes back to the cost of having insurance, and some of
Yeah.
them not being able to apply for it as well. It goes back to that issue, right? That, I mean, even just to be accepted at a hospital, sometimes you might need some credentials, or maybe your insurance, you don't have no insurance or whatever. It's like, it's kind of tough just to go through that.
Yeah, that's it. Everybody should have insurance. Crazy to me. But anyway,
Yeah, I know. That's crazy.
state of
So,
the world.
yeah, I know. So, what else are you working on right now as far as like projects or anything like that?
So right now I'm finishing this movie, this documentary with Vitamin Productions, which is the company I created with my two partners. And then we decided to go our separate ways. They're gonna focus on other projects, and then I'm planning to move to LA soon, at some
Mm,
point. I don't know exactly when, but
yeah.
I have a cool community I made there, and then I don't necessarily have projects and things I want to work there, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know. I think I've been in the Bay long enough. I need some change of air, but I'm
Yeah.
definitely like California soil, so I'll stick close.
You
Um,
should talk to Edgar. I just had a podcast with them, and I was just
oh yeah, I saw you guys posted that.
yeah, I actually mentioned you. I was like, man, you guys should collaborate or do something.
Yeah, we met once. We actually talked. He's a good dude.
Hmm.
He's hella smart.
Yeah, he's dope.
He's
Yeah.
he's super talented for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll be down. I'll be hella down to collaborate.
Yeah.
It's funny, like collaborations to me are like it's just like a matter of timing.
Hmm.
Sometimes you plant the seed and then you cross paths like 10 years later. Sometimes it happens right away, but
Yeah.
it's important to respect the timing, but it's also really, really important to respect like the seed, and the process. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like his shit, I like commenting his shit, like I follow his career,
Yeah.
and I know eventually we're gonna cross paths again, because like he's Latino, he's creative, he likes music. There's no way we're not gonna cross.
Yeah. You guys are kind of in the same lane, I
Yeah,
mean, he's
yeah,
done music videos, you've done music videos, and
exactly, yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
he'd be a good person to connect though because I mean, just like LA people, and I'm sure he knows a lot of LA people.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, no, I have him on my radar. I saw that you posted the title. It's like, "Oh, I'm moving to LA," or whatever.
Oh yeah,
I was like, "Oh, cool, nice."
yeah.
No, that's good.
So
The more the better.
yeah, are there any memorable stories you could tell us from your career being a DP or what do you call yourself right now these days?
Man, I right now I'm like fixing my resume, and then I changed to like I don't even know how to say it in English, but it's
Okay.
multifacético
Multifaceted.
filmmaker.
Okay. So
Um,
okay.
there's a way to say it, but I
And I
can't.
was like, I don't know what that is, but
Multifaceted? No, I don't
multifaceted.
know. Anyways, yeah, just kind of like not a Swiss Army knife, but at the end of the day, I could like produce,
Mm-hmm.
edit, direct, or shoot, and that's just my skills, and I can't really run away from it until I decided like channel myself into one thing, But some make me more money, some make me better projects, some make me just creative projects.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of like a filmmaker, honestly. Like I'm like true deep inside, I'm a director. You know me. I
Mm-hmm.
like certain things certain way, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I can't really run away. That's like in my genetics.
You
So,
like to
but
direct.
I yeah, I love to
Yeah.
direct, but at the same time, I've learned to like give space to other people if they want to grow, and then because of the love for like photography, I started doing like camera, and being okay with camera just for like a mental sake, because if you're a director, you're gonna take on a big, big responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like be ready for that because you're gonna be with the project from the moment that you open the idea until the moment that you deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
So not every time I like that feeling. So I
Mm-hmm.
started venturing into other ideas like cinematography, where basically you have a big role too,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't necessarily marry the project all the way. So you
Yeah.
just come in, you support it, you push it, and then you go away. So I can't say I'm a DP per se because I haven't necessarily shot with, I don't know, like a first assistant, second assistant, third assistant, whatever. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I've shot enough things that I know my game, and
Yeah.
it's a lane that I want to grow into for sure.
That's dope. So, what you have any fun stories to share as far as like
Yeah,
your career? Anything that kind of
for sure. There's
highlights?
so many. I have to think about it a little bit. But I was gonna say also another thing I'm using the quarantine time for
Mm-hmm.
is to write.
Mm.
Like I've always done this side of the project, visual. Like
Mm-hmm.
go shoot this, that. Like it's nice to improvise in those things. Or when you do a documentary, you pick a subject and you just follow them and you ask them questions. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing a script with a homie from Medellin who's really, really talented.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I are just figuring it out as we go. So that's like a goal as I get out of this quarantine, get out with a script. Um,
What is a least thing you like about filmmaking?
it's writing. That's kind of
Oh,
why I wanted to like talk about,
okay.
because I've always run away from it. I'm like,
Yeah.
the most challenging thing for me is to put it, because when you write it, you're kind of like deciding it. Like,
Mm.
okay, I want this character to be like this tall, so you put it in there,
Mm.
and then I don't know. Let's say you move forward, and then you're like, oh no no no, he wasn't actually this tall because he's like a soccer player. He's not a basketball player.
Mm.
So then it's hard, man. It's just a process I didn't know how to manage. But then I'm basically forcing myself to do it.
Yeah. No, yeah, I could. I mean, I love writing, but like, yeah, writing a film and all that, I could definitely see that being a big challenge. I mean, there's so many things you need to
Man,
think about, right?
there's so many things. You're basically creating the film. It's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
Writers are so unappreciated, and they're the most creative. It's crazy.
Where they're the like you said, they're the ones that create the actual film, and like everything else is
Yeah, like
just, you know,
yeah, everything you can think of is created on paper that was shot. A type of documentary, but even that is the concept.
that's dope. Um,
Like war stories are funny.
the which ones?
Think. Oh no, that you were asking like some memorable
Oh
moments.
yeah, yeah. And I was just thinking of any fun kind of highlights that in your career that you could share.
Man, I have so many, but I think it's funny because I'm doing all these interviews and then podcasts with homies that are starting, projects, and I'm
Yeah.
like, damn, man, it's been such a crazy journey, and it's only been like 10 years, but at the end of the day, like 10 years is like it's a commitment,
Yeah.
You hit like 10,000 hours,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Exactly.
so it's funny. It's funny to look back because I was just chilling, just cruising, doing my thing, There's this one, like when I released the first music video for Canserbero, I remember we released it at like 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
On whatever day, and then the next day I go and then I open it. This is in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we did this music video with no money. It was just kind of like a project, And then the next day I open it, it has like 35,000 plays and
Yeah.
like 1,000 comments. I'm like, what the hell?
What song was this
Jeez.
again?
It's called Pensando en Ti.
Is this the one
Thinking about it.
with the old man in the clock?
No, that's called Mundo de Piedra.
Oh, okay.
Pensando en Ti is like he's like in a library writing a love letter, but it's his first official music video.
Mm, okay.
But it's funny because I didn't expect so many people to react to it. And
Mm.
then I was blown away, man. I was blown away.
Why do you think that is? Why did it blow up?
It was just natural. It was organic.
Mm-hmm.
He was he had good content, and with good content comes like good response. And then the video was done with good energy.
Mm.
We did our best at the time, so
Mm-hmm.
people reacted to that too. And it was his first video. Actually, all his videos got that same response, but he
Oh,
was just that. He had a lot of momentum. And
and
a good content, so people reacted.
can you shed a little light on Canserbero? Because I know I'm a little lost in like how he even passed. If
Yeah, it's a mystery to everybody. He obviously for sure got killed.
mm-hmm.
But we don't really like to touch on that subject too much. But
Mm,
it's more so like what he left behind,
okay.
and he's kind of like seen as the Tupac of Latin America. Even
Yeah.
like Calle 13 is like, yo, this is the best rapper. So
Yeah.
we had conversations with him with Residente, and he respects him a lot. So
Damn.
it's crazy. He created all that with no money, no structure, like just him alone, and obviously with a lot of good friends. But
Yeah.
he left behind a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another project around the corner. We want to make a documentary about him, so we're starting that process.
Damn. Yeah, you have a lot of things on your plate.
Yeah, man, and it's funny because that's why I didn't want to. I was like, man, let's do it tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow. Because
No, I know.
every time,
I understand. It's all good, bro.
not that I'm like busier than the rest, but it's a weird transition time. And for me, at least for me, I have to align myself right.
Hmm. Well, what are
It's
your
funny.
what does your mom and dad say about what you're doing now?
I think they're proud now for sure.
Yeah.
They're like yesterday or 2 days ago, I did a live, and then my dad was there. He's like, oh, whatever, he was commenting on the shit. And then my mom too was watching the live. It's pretty funny to see their reaction. They're proud.
Yeah.
They've gotten more and more proud through the years. And
Hmm.
I'm not gonna say like I'm lucky, honestly, to have like the parents I have because I think they're like true creatives, but
Hmm.
they didn't necessarily follow their first passion. My dad's a musician and my mom's an artist. But my mom did like architecture and design, which is kind of like art, but
Yeah.
I think she should have been a painter or some crazy shit like
Mm.
that.
She doesn't paint
And
when
then
she's not working?
nah, she just
Mm.
does what she does, you know. But her drawings for the houses are crazy. I'm like,
Oh
damn,
yeah,
this is like a, you know.
I've seen them.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you've seen them around. So it's cool because I feel like they didn't tell me and my brother like, yo, you guys have to study this or you have to be this in life or whatever.
Hmm.
They just kind of like do what you want, but just be good at it. You know, just make sure that you work hard. And that was kind of like our motto at home. And
Yeah.
at the beginning, obviously, they're like, what's this hip hop thing? And you know,
Yeah.
and I'm
I,
sure she's seen it with my process with you, with kind of
hmm.
like trial and errors that I had. You know.
No, bro, I still remember when I would go to your house and we would have dinner. Your mom would be like, "So, Sam, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
Kind of like, yeah, you should be thinking about your future. And
Yeah, no, my mom's always getting
which
people's
is,
business about.
but that's great though, porque in a way it always keeps you on your feet. Like, oh yeah, I should be doing something productive. You know.
Yeah, for sure,
And
for sure. It's important.
what about Wanlu?
Juanlo studied electrical engineer and physics,
Hmm.
and he started working for a company that develops. Honestly, like if I talk about what he does, I wouldn't even remember how to explain it,
Yeah.
but it's some super dope shit. And then he did it for a couple of years, and then he kind of got tired because he didn't see any exponential growth. And then he's gonna do a master's in like nanotechnology and I
Damn.
forgot what, you know, but
Damn.
it's really dope.
Smart
Juan looks
kid.
like super smart. Yeah.
Shout out Wanlu,
We
man.
just developed different styles, you know, but yeah, no, Juan looks dope.
Wow.
Actually, one of the reasons I got into video was him too. Like everything just aligned, you know. I remember he gave me Premiere like CS2 or something that you gave him.
Really? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. Remember you had the whole suite like back in the day.
Yeah. I had a lot of software and
Yeah,
I was
a lot of
gracious enough.
crack
Yeah.
stuff. But all
Gracious
my
enough.
homies in school were doing like Final Cut,
Oh
and
yeah.
at that time for some reason I didn't have the money or I couldn't find it cracked, you know. So I
Mhm.
was like, whatever, I'll use Premiere, you know.
Mhm.
And then I stuck with Premiere till now, and then now Premiere is the shit.
Now, is that what you're using right now, Premiere?
Yeah, I use for sure Premiere, definitely. I've been married to Premiere since I started using it.
Yeah, I mean, I tried using was it what's the other one? Final Cut,
Final
right?
Cut. Yeah,
Man, I was like, what the hell is this? Like,
yeah,
why can't I do certain things? Like everything stuck to each other. I'm just like, I hate this
yeah.
stuff. Like,
It's not intuitive to me.
yeah. I mean, different people like different tools, and that's great. But I
But it was
tried.
the industry standard for a minute.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
just
remember in
couldn't.
school, people were like, Premiere? What are you using that, bro? I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. It's free. What the hell? Why would I pay like $1,000 for a Final Cut or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
Exactly.
Hell no.
What are you shooting now with nowadays?
Camera?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, right now, I technically don't have a camera because the company that we're splitting is gonna basically take the equipment and they're gonna take their part. But
Mm.
we had a red, I forgot which one, but basically the smallest one, but
Mm-hmm.
with the biggest sensor, the newest sensor and the smallest red.
Mm,
And
okay.
then we bought some Zeiss like old lenses
Mm,
with a neo mount, so they had like a really cool look.
nice. Is that what you
But
shot?
honestly, like I shoot, man, the Japan video I did it with like a little Sony camera, like a smaller camera than a A7S.
Mm. Yeah, I was about to
Mm-hmm.
ask what you shot those Supa videos and all these other music videos with.
Yeah, I have my friend Larry. He's a good filmmaker. Maybe you should interview him. He had a red for the longest time, and then we kind of made it like a low deal, and then he let me borrow it for a couple shoots, and then basically I shot all those videos with the red, his
Mm.
red first, and then the dojo videos I shot it with our red that we bought.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I love all the kind of aesthetics that you add to the videos too, right? Like give it that kind of vintage kind of look.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think every video. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just like freestyling as I go. You know what I mean? Like whatever aesthetic you find around, and then you like it. You know,
No, yeah, that's
you
dope.
do it. You know, and I don't. I try not to make a living from music videos, so I don't burn myself, you know, because
Yeah.
to me they're like kind of like art, you know.
It's fun. It's fun to make them.
Yeah, it's fun, and then you do it with your homies. So I've done a couple music videos where it's like more like a job. I did a couple with Bass and things like that, but and then they're good people, you know, the Dreamville team.
Oh yeah,
But for me, I like just to have fun with it, you know.
that's dope. Good stuff, man. So I know you gotta get off and do some things. So I'm gonna wrap it up, and I don't know if you want to plug it and give some shout outs or something.
Yeah, no, shout out to like any other homies from SJ that could be listening, or like anybody else that's been supporting.
Yeah.
And no, props to you, bro, for like pushing this. I think podcast is like a good, or any audio medium, you know. It's like a really good moment to push that. I actually got invited by my homie DJ 13, who's the guy that produced La Corte, Vagos y Maleantes, he did Guerrilla Seca. He
Dope.
produced basically all those first albums,
Mhm.
and he's doing a podcast in LA. He's starting the process, and then he's like, "Yo, I want you to be my co-host, bro." And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, bro."
Yeah, it's a
But
lot.
it might be cool, you know. He's like, just figure it out, you know. So
That's dope. Hell yeah,
might be
man.
fun. Maybe we'll call you one day.
Yeah, for sure. So anybody that wants to follow you, where can they reach you?
Oh yeah, I'm usually on IG mostly, you know. It's Nello
Mhm.
period GN. Nello.gn.
Cool. And I'll put the links, but check him out on Instagram. Dope ass filmmaker, a longtime friend, good peoples. Nelson, the filmmaker. Gracias otra vez, familia, and have a blessed day.
Bless. See you soon, bro.
All right, bro.
Take care.
You too.
Leave.
Yay.